The crowned one.
The crowned one.
What's up, guys? How's it going? Glad to have you back here at the Crown One. And oh man, this is gonna be a fun article to cover. So let's strap in. If you guys are enjoying the content, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell for the latest updates and the latest uploads for latest content. Right, so you guys saw the headline and you see the title up here from PC Gamer. They're reporting that Helldivers 2 had been summoned by the UN to give some information about psychological manipulation as pertains to gaming, and finding out as to whether or not people would be willing, or I should say why people would perceptively be willing to fight for a fascist state. And apparently somebody at the UN got wind of Helldivers 2, probably their kid or something like that, and probably wondering why their kid is so engrossed into this hyper fascist game called Helldivers 2. Hyper fascist but fun, caveat. And you know, they probably were just wondering why it's, you know, who knows, the person at the UN who might have asked for the summon might be a Helldiver themselves. Yeah, trying to keep on the down low, but it's all good. It is a fun game to play. So let's get into why or how or what's going on as to why you will be so interested on hearing from the devs over at Arrowhead as to why people would even be considered to wanting to play for such a fascist regime as Super Earth. Right, so so it turns out they wanted to discuss whether video games like Helldivers 2 could subconsciously manipulate players into supporting fascist regimes. I'm trying to say that as direct as I can, or as accurate as I can. But if you guys aren't familiar with the premise of Helldivers 2, we're fighting for a colony called Super Earth. It's actually just Earth, but you know, imperialism regime, disguised as democracy. They got to have a nice label. It's all about presentation. People subscribe to labels. So the game's dark humor is satire, for those who are not familiar with the franchise, and it's meant to be ironic, but not everyone seems to be picking up on that. There may be some issues where people are thinking that this game is espousing to some type of indoctrination. I can tell you that I don't feel indoctrinated. I don't walk around. Let's just say I'm not young enough to walk around in a Helldiver suit. Now, if you guys had a chance to check out my MegaCon 2025 recap, I did have a chance to meet some people dressed up, cosplaying as Helldivers, and I have to tell you, it just felt so patriotic. I'm having fun with this article, man. So yeah, let me stay focused here. All right, so why the concern? All right, so the UN was curious about this media, about this video game media, and especially the immersive games, and how it can influence beliefs and perceptions without people even realizing it. And Arrowhead's response, which is the CEO, the current CEO, is, now forgive me if I'm mispronouncing his name, it's Johan Pilestedt, who shared with the UN, who wanted to know whether games could potentially brainwash entire communities and how to guard against that kind of psychological manipulation. I don't even so how do you guard against psychological manipulation? For me, I can tell you, and I would even say for all of mankind, it would be the Gospels. Just a little plug there for my faith. That'll keep you from being indoctrinated. Read your Bibles. But as far as games are concerned, I would say don't buy into it. It's just a game. People try to kind of take games a little too seriously, whether it be a gamer or a person who's a critic of the game. The person who might be a gamer, for some people, unfortunately, they can augment that into their own reality, and they take it a little too seriously, to the point that it becomes unhealthy. And that is, I wouldn't even say that's a rare case. I think that is, I won't say it's a majority case. I mean, it's just such a prominent case because you see sometimes how people can allow themselves to be influenced by video games. Now, should we start blaming video games for the actions of others? I don't think so. I mean, games don't, games don't cause harm, physical harm. I do believe that games, certain games like horror games and stuff like that, they can have their impacts. But as far as like objective harm, it's not there. Again, this is also up to the decider what they want to decide to do, because you don't need video games to to commit egregious acts. Now it's taking a little dark turn because this is more the extreme of people who play games and take it to such an extreme, again, that they start to augment their own reality from video game gameplay. And I would encourage, people who start to take deep dives into that, just kind of pull away and realize that it literally is just a game. It is a work of fiction. It's not real. It's, from my understanding, games are meant for fun, pure distraction, nothing to be, to invest your entire life in. Now, if you're making games as a profession, or if you're playing games as a profession, that's something else. But again, not taking it to the reality. So that's just a, small PSA. So moving on. Now, the bigger question is, and this is kind of what I was, talking about a few moments ago, is to, can games like Helldivers 2 actually shape how players think about authority or even fascism, or are people just reading too much into it? I think people can read a lot into it for the simple fact that it's a game. I don't want to make it sound like I'm oversimplifying people's complex issues, but again, we have to have those safeguards in our own minds and remind ourselves, if necessary, this is just a game. It's not real. None of it is real. It's all virtual. It's a bunch of ones and zeros. And so why does this matter? The debate highlights how immersive storytelling in games can blur the lines between satire and genuine influence, especially when players are too focused on gameplay to notice the message. I would have to say that I'm probably so focused on Helldivers 2. I do know the message. So the message is fascism. The message is totalitarianism. The message is, for the automatons, socialism. I would say that the fascism comes from Super Earth, and the totalitarianism comes from the Illuminates. So I'm interested to see if there'll be a fourth faction with whatever type of governmental system they want to try to force down other people's throats. And that's just my own experience, my opinion. I think, just overall looking at a 30,000 foot view of the three different factions, being Super Earth, the automatons, and the Illuminate. Oh my goodness, I'm totally forgetting the Tyranids. So the Terminids. Oh my goodness, I'm starting to fuse my games here because Space Marines 2 says Tyranids or Terminids. Starts with a T, but at any rate, the bugs in Helldivers 2, which brings us more to the point of how Helldivers 2 kind of mimics Starship Troopers. And if you haven't seen Starship Troopers Part 1, then you're totally, you're missing out, but you're gonna have a total time, have a hard time trying to understand the game itself. I think that Starship Troopers kind of helps with the link between how a fascist government can encourage soldiers to kind of just die for their government. So yeah, if you do get a chance to check out Starship Troopers 2, Starship Troopers 1, I think it's a very funny satirical movie. There's also like 2 and 3, and there's also like some digital animations of the movie itself. I didn't get into much into the sequels, but the digital movies, like the digital animations, were actually pretty good. So now some of the community reactions to the game itself, some people think that the UN's interest is a total overreaction, while others believe it's worthy of discussion and how games can subconsciously influence our views. And I just, I don't want to beat a dead horse, man. I don't buy into it. It's a fun game. I enjoy it. I turn it off. I go to bed. When I turn it back on, I'm playing a game. At no point have I ever tried to practice anything from Helldivers 2 or any game that I'm aware of and allow it to affect my psyche or my thoughts. I will say, for me, I know when it's time for me to pull back from playing games is when I close my eyes and I start to see the actual game in my head. That's when it's like, okay, Crown One, you gotta back up, take a break. If I start dreaming about it, that's when I know I played way too many hours. And I would even encourage anyone who starts to like close their eyes and see games, take a day. Take a couple days if necessary. The game's not going anywhere. And again, guys, it's just a game. And this is coming from an avid gamer. I've said a few times on a few occasions that I have multiple consoles. I'm pretty sure some true gamers would dwarf my collection. But I can tell you from my collection, I have a 360. I'm looking at my 360, my PS3, and my Switch. Plus, I'm also, obviously I paid from my PC Tower, which is what I'm recording on. And I have an S3 and an S4. And I'm actually thinking about, I already said an S3. I got an S5, a PS5, and a PS4. I'm actually thinking about getting a second PS5 strictly for my studio because the PS5 that I have now is for the family. And I just kind of want, my own console so I'm not having to unplug it, schlep it to my office, plug it, play it, and the family's missing out on whatever game they want to play on the S5 console. That way it'll free up, their time to play when they want on that S5, and I can play whenever I want on my S5, but that's neither here nor there. So back to this article again, I would, again, as a PSA, just, measure yourself out. And, according, with my Christian faith, it tells us, when you find honey, eat just enough, too much, or you'll vomit. And I would encourage you guys, gamers out there, those hardcore gamers, even if you're gaming for a living, it's all good. Chops to you, man. Pull back when you can. And I wouldn't buy into I wouldn't buy into UN's concern. I kind of think it's a bit overreach if they're so concerned about whether or not it could brainwash somebody. I don't know if they're taking notes, They might just be like, hey, can you offer some pointers? You know what I'm saying? Like, I talked about this in length with my wife a couple days ago because I've been wanting to report this for a while and I'm just now having a chance to get around to it. She actually, matter of fact, she actually called it out. Flip Lady T is her handle. She actually called it out and said that, who knows, they might be taking notes. They might actually be, getting some advice or some type of, low-key consultancy as Arrowhead CEO gives testimony. So, we'll see it play out. Unfortunately, when it's like subconscious like that, people rarely see it. I know, like I said, I don't feel influenced in any way. I think it kind of adds to the fun and to the satire. Sometimes me and my wife will do the super Earth salute, very jokingly, by the way. We're not like, standing toe to toe, shoulders back, chest out, back straight, looking, parallel to the ground, looking straight on, I should say, and just doing a super Earth salute at the mere thought of it. I don't think it's come to that extreme, and even on a more or less extreme, we're just not there. We know it's a game. We stop when we want to. And again, if I start seeing Helldivers, if I close my eyes and I'm shooting bugs that's coming at me in all directions, that's probably a clear indication that I've been playing too much. And I hope that can be an indication for you guys. So whether you're a fascist, a totalitarian, a socialist, or even the bugs. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, so the bugs, I think they're more of a hive mind. So what governmental system would espouse to a hive mind? Probably communism. Yeah, so I mean, but no, so the bugs are a hive mind. If they're not a hive mind, they're more of a colloquial mind. Yeah, that's interesting. So, hey, look, if you guys are enjoying the content, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Leave something in the comment section. Let me know what your thoughts are about that. Hit that notification bell for the latest updates and the latest uploads for the latest content. This is Crown One signing off, and I'll talk to y'all later.